Hello,
Hey man,
how you doing? I'll remove the
doing
gum from the thingy.
you have gum?
Well, you know that blue tack stuff?
Yeah, I have something on mine too, a little swipey thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right.
All right,
You
brother.
can,
Thanks
you
for
can see
joining
my
me, man.
fade in it. Very professional.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for joining me, man.
No problem. Thanks for having me over your beautiful show.
Right on, bro. Where are you where are you at right now? I know you're like a traveling Wilbury, right? All the time. Where are you now?
Oh, the Traveling Wilburys with Bob Dylan and
Yeah,
who else?
Roy Orbison
Roy
and
Orbison
what, Tom
and
Petty.
Tom Petty,
Yeah,
the main one, and
classic.
then another dude that I can never remember his name.
Oh, George Harrison.
Yeah, I don't know him so well, but
George
he's cool.
Harrison, one of the Beatles,
George
bro.
Okay. No, but there was another dude with puffy hair. George Harrison, of course, George Harrison. But
Yeah, yeah.
there was a guy with like a
Wasn't
beard and puffy hair.
it wasn't wasn't Bob Dylan, right? No, I don't think so.
Was Yeah, Bob Dylan was in
Was
that.
he?
Were there four or five? I
They were
hope
just
this is not part of the show. Huh? I
well,
hope
they're
this
like a
is
what a bunch of show offs, right? It's like everyone possible.
right. It was a cool band with only one record, which I have in my collection. And
Yes.
yeah, but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, usually I'm traveling a lot. Actually, these days I'm declining a lot of travel offers, which is painful because I can't leave the country. But for now, I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
I'm actually going to Arizona in a couple days for the Gem Show. And yeah, I'll be cruising around the States mostly, but I can't leave the country for a minute. So yeah, here I
Leave
am.
to like go back to Canada, you mean? Because
Yeah, like I could leave and go back to Canada, or I
then you're
could leave and
stuck
go back
there.
to Peru.
Yeah.
Well, I got homes in both those places, but because of mandates, if I leave the States as an unvaccinated foreigner, I can't get back in. And
Right.
if I'm kept away from my business and the place I make my money, I'll just be sitting in my apartment, not being able to do anything and paying my bills. So
Yeah.
for now, I'm just trying to figure it out here in the States, become maybe perhaps a resident, and then I'll be able to go in and out and go between all
Right.
three countries.
I wasn't even going to bring these topics up, but I'm super curious because like I think I started following you like maybe around the time you hung out with Maria and Drew Brophy. I think that was
Mm-hmm.
probably around the time that I kind of got you on my radar and I started checking your workout. And I was super interested in a lot of like the blogs and the vlog. I think that's a word, like all the video stuff you do. And I really admired that you had kind of the balls to like put a lot of like social commentary in there. It's like you don't seem to be kind of like afraid like a lot of creative people are for justifiable reasons. I understand, but like you just throw a lot of shit out there, which I really admire, which could be considered like kind of hot button topics. Is that something that you ever question, or should I be putting this out there or not? You know what I'm talking about?
It's good. It's good. Look, I think if anybody is going to express themselves freely and openly, should be artists. If
Right.
artists are not allowed to express themselves, then we're fucked. And not that artists got the answer or the truth, but I think we all find the truth in an open hearted conversation, giving different points of views and perspectives. Not that I don't have fear, or that I don't, that I'm throwing caution to the wind when it comes to my career and stuff. I already got like a whole cancellation episode last year, which was both good and bad, because at the same time it kind of like made me lose a lot of the fear of cancellation, or like losing popularity or following, because fuck it, that's not me. I'm beyond if people like me or not. That was a gift at the end of the day, to go through that experience. Now, that not that I'm looking to for more trouble, I just got to express myself, and the things I'm expressing myself is my worry about seeing the world going in the wrong direction. If I see the world going in the wrong direction, and I just keep it quiet because I
Mm.
want to keep on selling products or whatever, that doesn't feel very authentic to me. Not that I'm going out there and be like, hey, everybody, let's start a revolution. Neither. I'm always very careful about everybody's feelings, because once again, I don't hold the truth. I hold my truth.
Right.
I share it Hope people can respect it, or at least just let it go. People aren't gonna get mad at me, as I don't get mad with anybody else. We're having an open conversation. We should have this conversation. And if people like think I'm that wrong and they want to follow me, c'est la vie.
Right.
I still want to explain people why I left Canada. I still want to explain why I think things don't make sense to me, because we can't just allow them to go on forever just because the media kind of owns the narrative. Anyways, that's just my perspective.
I think that's a great perspective. I mean, like you said, like if us as artists can't express ourselves, but the big but, right? On the flip side of it, we're also like entrepreneurs. We're also making a living. Like me, I have 3 kids. So there's like other things to consider. So it's like, on one hand, you don't want to insult people. You don't want people to kind of cancel your artwork because your views are different. It's like a fine line. Like you said, you kind of have to walk that line, but I feel like you have to do that as a human anyway. Cause like, no matter what the views or the topics, you have to find a happy medium where you kind of like overlap. So that,
Right, you gotta be just authentic,
yeah,
and respectful to everybody too. Like I got artist friends that go out there and was like, all of you are wrong, this is the truth. It's like, well, let's just talk and be kind to one another. And yeah, well, the I'm not here to sell t-shirts or sweatshirts. Yes, I do that also because I gotta pay the bills, but that's not my ultimate expression. And yes, I also have to respect the people that work with me and under me, like my brand manager and my workers and people that depend that my business keeps on running to a level that they can pay their bills.
right.
I can't just say like, oh, well, fuck it, I'll do whatever I want. you know
Yep.
I have to have a certain respect to that too, but I have to be allowed to be myself, may people like it or not.
Yeah.
And my intentions are good. What matters is that my intentions are good, that I want to see a better world, and even if I'm right or wrong, I should be allowed to be that as anybody else, as long as the intentions
100%.
are good.
Yeah, it seems like common sense. Unfortunately, a lot of that's been lost somewhere in the world, but I'm hopeful and optimistic that we'll kind of like find our way back. But the stuff you're talking about kind of brings up one of the topics that I found super interesting. Like you have I was looking at some of your stuff online, and I love your roots that you have with like skateboarding and surfing. Those are my roots as well. I was listening, watching some of your documentary that you have, and it was I connected with it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always nice to hear echoes of yourself and others, because it makes you feel a little less alone, even though, we're at the age where we've experienced that enough in our lives. But even yet, hearing it again is nice. And like, I heard you talking in that about how skateboarding for you was sort of your alternative to team sports. That was like me. I sucked at team sports. Like the dodgeball was always slamming me in my face. And like for me, I found skateboarding, and then I eventually found like snowboarding and surfing, martial arts, breakdancing, anything that was like something that I could make the rules up was where I was pulled towards. And I saw that and heard that in you. And I was wondering if you can sort of like touch upon that and maybe how that's affected where you are now. Cause I really enjoyed hearing that from you.
Yeah, well, I certainly sucked at sports. I don't know why some people are good at sports and other people are not. I was one of the ones who were not. And I went to an all boys school in Lima, Peru, which is a very macho, kind of country where being good at soccer matters. And I wasn't. And I felt like such a loser. But it didn't really matter. Like I had my thing that I like to do. I like to draw, and I like activities that were more like kind of like like a rebellion towards the world that didn't seem to make sense to me, like skateboarding, like surfing, which are a little bit more rebellious individual expressions, or like being in a soccer team supporting like a street gang, which is also like something that I guess doesn't go with the patterns of being a good person in society. I don't know, that was just kind of like my personality. It helped me express myself in a different way. Sure, I would have loved to be better at skating and surfing too,
Yeah.
because kids will get all competitive, like, oh, you didn't get your wave today, loser. I was like, I'm trying to drop all that, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm so grateful that I could access those activities in Peru, which basically didn't really have as much importation like of the cool things you guys were doing up there in North America.
It's I think you probably have a similar experience. Like for me, like skating and surfing taught me so many lessons. It was like obviously learning like about pain and accepting pain, because like you can't skate without learning to like somehow like accept failure and pain. And then especially surfing, it's like you're on the beat when you're learning, especially you're like out there in the lineup, everyone's watching you like eat it, fall on your face. And I think those lessons like really are helpful for like an artist or an entrepreneur to like to learn how to be out in the public and just fuck up over and over and over again and hurt yourself and look like a moron. Did you find those lessons were helpful too?
Right. I wish skateboarding and surfing wasn't so much about looking cool and showing off to everybody how good we are. I wish it was like you just do it for yourself and somebody looks cool, but you don't really care. That's not how a lot of humans operate, including myself. So, but the lessons that you're bringing up, the falling on skateboard, I for sure have fallen a lot more than tricks landed.
Yeah. Yep.
So when I live my life and I'm kind of clumsy in the way I am, and I may fall in physical reality or fall metaphorically speaking, I know that there's no just lying on the ground like a pussy, like, oh, Bill, what. No, you just get up and you try again and you try again until you land that trick. You just keep on pushing forward. That's a great lesson from skateboarding. And from surfing, it's like the respect to nature. You go in the waves, and some days those waves will kick your ass and you got no control, and you just got to surrender in the wipe out. Like, oh God, okay, I have enough air to come up. There's been times I thought I was gonna drown. Just keep on holding on to that breath for as long as you can. There's no other option till you eventually breathe again. So that's good. I didn't die. So that's some great lessons too. A lot of respect for the I don't know, the chance of what anything could happen at any moment.
And then I was like watching your some of your clips, and I saw you bust like a front side air in a bowl, and it was like on a Christian Hosoi board. And I was like, all right, this guy like must be from a similar era as me, because like looking at those guys growing up, like the old Powell videos and stuff, like that was like my dream. Like people said, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to put art on skateboards and I want to be an artist. Like, and I didn't really have a plan B. I was wondering, like, did you have like a safety net at all? Or was it was like art or nothing for you? Like, what were some other things you considered, if anything?
Yeah, I am an old school skater. I started skating 86, so it's totally 80s mode.
Yeah, man.
And then I never really stopped skating, but like I wasn't, going super hard at some point. But when I moved to Canada and I couldn't surf anymore, skating was like the alternative. So I got into like 90s more street style skating, and I still skate today. I can still do those little airs, those ditch grabs.
Same here, man. Same here.
And yeah, and I definitely, when I got out of school, I went to skateboard graphics, and I did skateboard graphics. I probably, for many brands, I've probably done like 100 commercial skateboard graphics to this point. And the second part of your question was,
oh, if you had a safety net plan at all, was there some other thing you were like thinking, maybe I'll do this if the art thing doesn't pan out?
right? No safety nets. Like I lived in Montreal, Canada for the last 21 years when I was first trying to make it as an artist. And there were parts where my career was not working out. Like I wasn't selling enough. That I can think of, like when MySpace went down. So like things were going good for me on MySpace, and then MySpace was just like, we're over social media. It just seemed like people were not going to do social media anymore for like a year, till people got into Facebook, which had to morph into something different in order to be fun. But in that year, I lost all my clients, and I was like, shit, dude, like I can't pay my rent. Maybe I just got to go and get a normal job. But Montreal's a French city, and I don't speak French. So even if I wanted to get a job, people are like, well, you can't talk to the customers, so no, we're not taking you. So I was kind of forced to make the art thing happen one way or another. And yeah, so far so good. And
That's
not giving
awesome,
it up. That's yeah.
man. Um, You know, a lot of your art and a lot of your brand, I guess we'll use that word, even though it sounds so commercial, but a lot of your brand, a lot of your persona is like positive vibes and all that. I have found from being into yoga that there's this stereotype, which is kind of sort of true, that people always like, oh, you're into yoga, you probably just like float around like on blossom flowers and just blah blah blah, zone out all day. And I think when you get into these pockets, these little niches of society, whether it's yoga or art or whatever, you realize that a lot of the people, yes, are the more chill people by nature, but a lot of them are the ones that need it the most, right? A lot of the people in yoga are the ones that are like the most wired, the most stressed, the most anxiety ridden. And I'm wondering where, if like the positive vibe stuff, right? Who I believe that you actually are, is there, what's the other side of it like? What's the flip side of the coin? And what was that, you know, if there was one, how do you cope with that? And how did that kind of evolve to where you are now, you know?
Right. Um, I need positivity in my life because not because I'm a negative person, but because I'm a sensitive person who can be very affected by the world. Like I can be very sad. I can be depressed. I can be shocked in my system from the things that life throws at me. Like if I wasn't positive, I'd probably be so depressed to the point of suicide, because the world overwhelms me.
Yeah.
Positivity is kind of like my light jacket that keeps me afloat. Be like, hey, don't worry. Like even if things are bad, things are also good. And you know, psychedelics kind of like made me see that everything's everything, and that there is no actual bad. That the bad's actually good because God just wants to experience it all through us. But yeah, like I'm not saying that negativity is a bad thing, or sadness, or any of the negative emotions or experiences in life. Once again, everything's everything, so everything is meant to be experienced and learned and all this stuff. And you know, moments of depressions, moments of sadness, moments of dancing with your shadow and fucking getting punched in the face by all your bullshit, it's a great catalyst for you to fucking want to just get up and try to be a better person. And really, like, everything has a purpose and a meaning. But I find that in this world, negativity is highlighted. The news, it's all negativity. Like, oh, the world sucks. Everybody's doing something bad. Everything, you know, we're going on the wrong direction. We're all gonna just fucking die. And then even on the media and pop culture, like being bad is good. Like, oh, I'm a gangster that like hurts people and is bad to women and steals and does tons of drugs. Like that's what's cool these days. And once again, there's a place for that, to each their own. If that's the experience you got to go through, amazing. As I said, I was in a street gang too. I went through negativity. I experienced it. And then I saw like, oh shit, like I almost killed a person. And what for? What? Because he's from a different soccer team? And what's going to happen to me as a reaction to that? What's going to happen to the family of that person? You know, like, what is all this stupid shit for? Like, why have I gone down the path of negativity? So anyways, society and pop culture, I'm putting way too much, emphasis on negativity. And I think that the world needs its counterbalance. So things are balanced. So we need to like shine just great gratitude for all the beautiful things that exist in the world already. This world's actually really awesome. I think humanity is fucking awesome. Yeah, we're also a piece of shit. We all do bad things, but the heart's good and the heart's inside there. And we just got to kind of like become each other's healers as opposed to each other's attackers or traumatizers, so that we can all be the best versions of ourselves. So we can all be the positive version of ourselves, even if there's moments of negativity that help us work it all out to then flower into our highest expression. So yeah, like what I try to do with my art are creations, and I try to emphasize on the positive, but not all of my paintings are positive. Some are negative too, but if the result is positivity at the end of the day, I think that is also positive.
First of all, well, I do want to get back in a moment to, like, you said you almost killed someone. That sounds like a good story. I want to get back to that in a second.
Sure.
But I feel like before we get off of this topic, I feel like we'd be doing people listening who are a lot of artists listening. I feel like we'd be doing them an injustice if we didn't touch more upon this, because I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot in my life right now. I'm a proud dad. You know, I've got a lot of great stuff going on. So when you say these positive things, I'm like, yeah, bro, I want to, like, you know, give you a fist bump through Zoom. However, there's been points in my life, if I'm being totally honest, where like you saying that to me when I was in a darker place in my life would almost feel like oh, fuck him. Like, I can't deal with this. This guy's, whatever. I remember when I was in a really, really bad spot, when I would encounter people that were overly optimistic, I'm like, you're not realistic. You're not living in reality. And a lot of people listening struggle with that. And I, on occasion, still dip down in lows, if I'm going to be totally honest. But I feel like people listening that want what we're talking about to focus on the positive, but can't, are there methods, strategies, mindsets, books? Are there what kind of tools can we give people listening that like can maybe pull you out, show you a little sliver of light?
I'd say hang out with your homies, hang out, hopefully you got good friends. Hopefully your friends got wisdom and perspective. If not, maybe open up the boundaries and attract those people who have been doing the work. I find I always get more support from real friends than from strangers. Yeah, a stranger can help too. A video on YouTube or a book can be helpful to gain perspective. But at the end of the day, it's really nice when your friends and family are there for you and can truly just understand you. And it's not like, oh, you shouldn't be sad, being positive is what you should be. And, like, let's work to get you on the positivity. It's like, no, let's surrender to the feeling that is. Embrace your sadness, embrace your negativity, sit in it, observe it, and be like, okay, what is this feeling? Like, I feel like when you can kind of separate from the feeling a little bit, it's not you anymore. It's kind of like, all right, I can feel this feeling of sadness or anger. Let's honor it. If I want to express my anger in a healthy way, so I don't go out and yell at my dad, I'll go out to the field and start fucking hitting the fucking earth with a pick and just yell and let it out, because, the earth can absorb it better than my dad. I don't want to hurt my dad, but he pisses me off too.
What
But
I'm
yeah,
hearing, what I'm hearing so far, I'm reading in between the lines, like awareness, which I feel like meditation is a great tool, right? And then I'm hearing kind of physicalities, exercise. Are those perhaps two things, like in friendship, camaraderie?
right, like a sport, like going out playing soccer or skateboarding can be a great way to get that energy out. And then you come back home and you're tired. It's like, okay, I'm a little bit less angry, or I don't know. For me, life is like a psychedelic experience. You got to kind of like surrender to the hard parts and, be grateful for the good parts, or even be grateful for the bad parts too, knowing that they have a purpose of transmutation for you to crystallize into a better version of yourself. So I think it's just more, it's not about like, nah, bro, don't be sad, be happy, like, no, it's like, all right, cool. Let's just, the sadness is here. Honor it, surrender to it, know that it's not going to last forever, be patient, and then eventually things will get better.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that meditation teaches you, is like learning to see your emotions almost as like a passing cloud, and being like, all right, that sucks. I'm experiencing it. Oh, there it goes. And like, I feel like what you're talking about, like getting obsessive with stuff, whether it's a friend or an activity, that those are great things. And like, I would like to know if there was like a moment or moments where in your head, or like kind of like the turning points of, right, when you, and then also you have to somehow include your story about almost killing someone. I'm sure that's somehow related to all this. I would imagine that would be a turning point. So tell us that story if you're willing to, and how maybe after that you became what seems like a very opposite personality.
Okay. There's been many chapters in my life. I'm kind of old, but when I was a teenager in Lima, Peru, I went to an all boys school, classy British, rich kids kind of situation. And then it kind of like became a thing to go to soccer stadium to cheer for your favorite soccer team. So you're going to like the bad part of town and getting into a soccer stadium, which is all like super ghetto culture. And here we're like a little group of like 20 white kids, privileged to the max, but it was super exciting, scary as fuck, but super exciting. And the soccer stadium is a madness. Eventually the fad went away and my friends just went to do other activities, but I got kind of like hooked on that whole like soccer stadium, like where you can go and fucking just go nuts and push people and be pushed and throw rocks and yell and just get all this anger out. So for years I was in street gangs, in that whole scene. And, you know, I try to conceal, you know, like, you know, the school that I went. Like, obviously I was already white, so I was already like kind of like a, you know, not as cool as everybody else. But it was fun for me. That lasted years, and there's many stories that go along it. But this story where I, you know, probably almost killed a person. I've seen people getting killed in the soccer stadium, like people getting beaten
Literally.
up to the, yeah. And I was like 14, so you're like, holy shit, you know. And once again, you're like a white kid from the other side of town, like in a really dangerous place. And anyways, I got tons of stories. I wrote a book once I moved to Canada, like when I was 17, to just kind of like capture the experience. At the end of this whole chapter, it was at the same time when I started doing psychedelics. So I had already moved to Canada, but I was visiting, and my friends all the time were smoking weed. So I started smoking weed, and it was a little bit too much for me. It was making me paranoid, but very interesting too, how it made me think differently. And then all of a sudden, they wanted to do San Pedro. San Pedro is a cactus that grows at the doorstep of almost every Peruvian house. Saint Peter guardian the door of your house. It's a religious thing, but also it's got mescaline if it's got enough lines. So we go around in our neighborhood on a bicycle with a machete, and if you find a San Pedro that had like 7 lines or more, you chop it up, put it in a towel, and run away. Once we captured enough San Pedros, we'd go to the beach house of one of our friends, and it was off season, noise at the beach. So we cooked it for hours, and then we drank it. And then we tripped out for hours. I'm like 18, I think, by this, 18. And it was like my first psychedelic experience. It was very interesting. I started like figuring out that there was more to the physical realm. Anyways, in that trip, I put down my toque, and I'm just kind of like tripping and doing my thing. And in there, the symbol of my soccer team, which is like a U or in a circle, kind of like manifested. And he's like, hey, you're gonna go to the soccer match tomorrow, right? And I was like, dude, that's like 3 hours away. I'm on the middle of a 12-hour mescaline trip. I can't go and cheer for you. Sorry. What? You're not being a faithful fan of this team after everything I've done for you, all the moments and the blah, blah. You gotta come. I was like, okay. I'll come to the soccer match tomorrow. So I didn't sleep that night. I just, you know, at 6 a.m. came. I just walked through the desert a couple kilometers, got to the highway, and took a bus that took me to La Victoria, which is like the gnarliest part of Lima. It's like it's super gnarly. I get there, and something's going on with your Zoom, I think, or shit, or is this a phone? Oh, somebody's calling me.
No,
Do you still see me?
Yeah, I can still see you.
Okay, cool. I don't know why my phone connected to the computer and I couldn't see you. Anyways, let me get back into the story. So I get to the super gnarly part of town, and right away, like, people are like, what the fuck's this white dude doing here? And I'm all like fucking like burnt out from not sleeping and doing hard psychedelics all night. And he's like, what's your name? And I'm like, I am me. And he got so mad, he breaks a bar on the floor and starts going at me. And I'm like, my name is Christopher. Anyways, super intense.
Jesus, man.
So then we're like, okay, let's go and fight. Let's go and look for our enemies to fight them on the street. So the fights in Peru, like, imagine this is a long road, and you'll have gangs on different sides, and then they go back and forth throwing rocks at each other. It's not about guns there. It's about grabbing a rock from the ground and fucking throwing it at the head of your enemy. And hopefully you hit them and they fall, and then you can grab them and steal their t-shirts or their flags as trophies. And so we went looking for some, and we're on this road, and we saw a fight happening here. So here's a gang from La U, our side, and then a gang from Alianza, the enemy side, and we were here. So we're kind of coming from behind, and we could sandwich them. And we're like, oh fuck, we're gonna get these motherfuckers. So seeing that we were less than the gang that was here, they had to like run through us, which is kind of like almost easy targets, and they're like, scrambling. So they were coming through us, and we're all starting throwing rocks at them. Get him, see if you can capture one and beat him up. And I'm just like all in the fucking emotional thing. I grab a brick and I throw it at one of them, and it hit, like it missed his head by a little bit and hit this wooden door like donk. And I was like, then I started like, holy shit, I almost actually hit his head by like a little bit. If that brick would have hit his head, he probably have a contusions right there, but everyone just jumped in and beat him up. And, you know, he could have died potentially. I'm not saying like he would have died for sure, but
yeah,
that put me like, holy shit, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, after that, I stopped doing street gang shit. I was like, I can't, what the fuck am I doing here? I can't like kill strangers because of soccer team alliances. What the fuck? So in a way, I feel like the psychedelic wanted me to have that experience in order to get out of the negativity I was in. I'm not going to say like after that I became positive. No, after that I had more, you know, chapters of negativity. I moved to Canada, I became a drunk, I was a fucking asshole, break everything in my path. But eventually with negativity, you just hit a wall and you're like, ugh, my life sucks and I'm an asshole. I gotta fix this. And that's when you gotta go out and search. And for me, it was tree planting. So tree planting was the psychedelic that woke me up and was like, yo, man, you are nature, the world's nature. You got to help nature. You got to be nature. You got to be yourself. You got to be spiritual, but not real, not spiritual as in religious. Just find your soul, find your spirit, and be a servant of the Most High, of God, or whatever you want to call it, and so on.
I'm curious what I know you're a proponent of psychedelics. A lot of artists are. I'm curious, is that still an integral part of all of your, like a good portion of your creations, or are you at the point where you feel like it opened portals that you can get to without like plant medicine of any sort?
I wouldn't say my art's about psychedelics. Psychedelics is part of my personal process as a person. Like, I'm just trying to heal my human madness. I'm trying to clean out my wounds, my traumas, my negativity, and my bullshit. That will create the brush. If I'm a brush in the hands of God, then this brush is more pure. It can capture a different kind of paint, and the paintings that come out of this channel of creation will be more aligned with a person who is more connected to God or source or positive soul than somebody who's like traumatized with a bunch of armors and just its paintings are a reflection of that. I think like art's a reflection of the person. So psychedelics is helping me become a better person. But I wouldn't say like the art's about like, all right, let's trip out and let's do something trippy on the canvas. That's too superficial for me. Yeah, my art will come out with a psychedelic flavor, but it always did, even before I did psychedelics. I'm just an 80s kid. I'm a trippy person in my being. And that's okay. When I'm in that space, that deep space, sometimes I'm like, well, this is amazing, I should paint that. And they tell me like, shut up. Yeah. Don't, you know, why are you thinking about working now? You're here to let go of the mundane, let's make a painting thoughts, you know. You're here to surrender and find true essence, not the like, oh, if I paint this thing, I'll be really cool now. That's not my intention when I go in there. I'm there, I just fucking try to understand what is, like God, human, me, the world. They're trying to teach me what reality is about. And that's a hard situation to go through. And then my art is hopefully trying to express a little bits of that as I try to understand myself and the whole equation. And once again, it comes out with a psychedelic flavor, but I don't think I've ever seen my art in the psychedelic space, or very rarely. Or my art is like a crude representation of things that are, look, when I'm there, I'm just like, I can't paint this thing. This is fucking crazy. So detailed and big and ever changing. I'm not even gonna try. But if it filters subconsciously through me in my life and in my expressions, I can honor that too. You know, it's all good. I surrender and I'm all.
Do you find your overall, I know obviously as an artist, I know the process changes from piece to piece, but do you find as like a pattern, it's more, or I don't want to say more, but do you find that there's the analytical side of you that kind of takes turns with the more intuitive side? Is there a lot of sketching and revisions and frustration, or is it just like how it flows out? Like, talk people listening in on that process, because like I know it could be like a very enjoyable, blissful experience, but it could also be torturous at times depending on what you're working on. I'd love to hear it from your words what the process is like for you.
Right. I would say that most of the channeling happens in the sketch, which can be done real quickly. Like I
Yeah.
can do the sketch in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I'm done. And then I will need like months to follow through to actually make that sketch a painting that properly represents what I'm trying to say. Like first I have to have an intention. Yeah, some of my paintings are random and you don't know what you're doing, and then you do the painting and then you discover what the painting wants to tell you, and then you learn from it. But definitely there's other times where like, oh, I really want to paint this energy or this entity or this archetype. I love archetypes. And okay, so what does that archetype have to have in order to express what I feel it has? Like, oh, it has to have this symbol and that symbol. I'll take lots of notes and then see where it fits better. And then I got the sketch, and then I do the drawing. And then from the drawing, I got to figure out the colors, which many times comes intuitively. Oh, this looks nice here. Oh, this should be this color. Oh, and this bounces off this and blah, blah, blah. And, and then it builds up and it crystallizes. So it's a mix between, yeah, channeling an idea or energy and actually technical mastery to make it understood, at least by me, but hopefully the viewer as well.
Yeah, I feel like if we as artists are able to kind of transmute that energy that we feel for the viewer, like if they can tap into any sense of that, like we've done our job well. I think that's a great way to kind of encapsulate the feeling. I'm curious, like when, if there was a moment or a period in time when you felt like you made it, in like an air quotes I'm doing here, right? Like, because you were talking before that you had some rough patches in life, some dark spots, you were drunk, you're an asshole, all these different things you were saying. And you said you were kind of like sort of struggling like for a period, and then all of a sudden you kind of had to make it work. But tell me about that time period of when it was like a struggle to when I'm like, all right, I'm solid, I'm good.
Right. Well, I teach workshops, and in the initial speeches, I'm just trying to have a conversation with these artists and be like, hey, what's success to you? Because I'm not going to tell you this is success and this is not success. Success could just be waking up in the morning and doing your art and being in a state of gratitude for doing something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Money or not, popularity or not, that's all things that you add on to it, that you decide, oh, when I make it, like when I make it to that gallery, when that magazine gives me a chance, then I'll be enough. Then I'll, then it will give me enough approval, external validation for me to feel like I've made it in my career. That's a reality, and we artists look for it. We do want that show and that all the things I just mentioned. But we also got to be like satisfied at the point of like, hey, I'm doing art and I can afford my life.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the point where I went from unsuccessful to successful. I was always successful simply because I was doing art that I liked. I think, in school I did well, and I guess that's success, may it be career or not. And it took me years. Like I was on welfare for 4 or 5 years because I couldn't afford anything. I was like, I didn't know artist friends. There was no social media. I just, I was like, I got to do this art and I got to figure out how to sell it. And just, welfare allowed me to stay at home and paint and paint and paint, and also send my art everywhere to see what would bring it back as money. But I'd say like around 5 years, when I could pay all my bills and I could get off welfare, which is only $500 a month. I was living on $500 a month for like 5 years. It was like you pay rent, you pay food, and you're done.
Yeah.
But I was doing art, and that was good. So the point where I could get off welfare and pay my life with art, my bills and stuff, that was success. And I always say that everything else was just cherries on top of this beautiful Sunday. Like, oh, now I get to travel. Oh, now I'm in a bunch of magazines. Oh, now I got a documentary. Oh, now a publisher published a book. Amazing. Well, that was one where I'm like, oh my God, a publisher's publishing like a hardcover coffee table book of my art. That was like a one where I run around my apartment. It was like, yeah, success, because I worked for like 2 years
Yeah.
designing this book with the best of my art. And then I pitched it to all these publishers, and the publishers usually don't want to spend several thousands of dollars printing something that won't sell. So they don't even answer you. But this one publisher did, and then my book went through. And not that it made me big money or made me a huge artist or whatever. It was more for me because I was making books ever since I was 8 years old. So it was kind of like a kid's dream to have your own book. This was like 10 years ago. There were other things in my career that I can be like, oh, wow, I painted for a big street art museum in Russia and then one in Amsterdam. That's kind of like nice. And then like the Bob Marley mausoleum invited me to paint a mural in Jamaica at the place where he was born and where he died. That will always be something where I'm like, what? I did that? Cool, because I love Bob Marley ever since I was a kid. I don't know, just working for different skate brands and musicians that I love and admire. Just living a rich life, I think, is success, going out there and traveling the world. I've done many jobs where I didn't get paid a cent, but I worked and painted murals for people who really enjoyed it and just had rich experiences. For me, that's making it. So yeah, and so on, but at the end of the day, I think like true success and making it will be the day that, I don't know, I can just be happy with myself, no matter if I made it or not, like maybe I lose it all and I can still be there and be like, hey, I'm still me and I still love myself and everything's blessed. I think that's truly making it.
It's interesting, like seeing any creative person make it, right? Because it really does take a certain amount of ingredients of like balance between like what's classically referred to as like the right left brain balance thing, right? Like I know for myself, I'm sure you get the exact same thing. People are impressed by the art and then they're like equally impressed by like, how do you make a living at this? How do you, like, they're perplexed. They look at you, they see your shaggy hair, your earrings and beard, and they're like, whoa, how do you do that? Who runs it for you? And it's like interesting and admirable to see that you have that balance, because you would imagine that people looking at people like us, they see like the free-spirited wandering hippie type, and they don't realize what like an insightful and experienced entrepreneur that you are. And I was wondering if there's certain mindsets you feel that are super valuable, or how you look at the business landscape, or being an entrepreneur in general, because I feel like it does take a certain mindset and balance. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm lucky that I'm that person with a balanced left and right side of my brain. I know friends that fucking kill it at the right side, the artistic one, right?
Say
the
again?
right side of the brain. The
Left,
right side of
yeah,
the brain.
left is business and right is like art. Yeah.
Right. So I got some friends who got the right side of the brain super dialed in. They kill their art. They're artists I could never be. They're just art expressing, but they can't answer an email and they can't, wash their clothes and go up to a guy and be like, hey, like, you should give me a chance. Let's see what we can do together. Or, hustle and think and research and plan and, the whole entrepreneur side of things. It's an art in itself too. It's a fun game, and I like to beat this video game some days, and other days I wish I could just throw my phone and my computer in the garbage and just paint away. That's where I'm at right now. The business side of things actually doing really well, but it's robbing all my time from actually painting, which is super frustrating because I see my peers advancing on their paintings expressions, and I struggle to do a couple paintings here and there.
Yeah.
And it's all about time. Like maybe this is the year where I'm successful at the business side, and then next year I can afford to just paint a little bit more and have a family. I don't know, we'll see. Life presents itself and I just more of a witness. But yeah, I don't know, just doing what I gotta do. I'm not gonna just throw business in like I had a chance to dip out last year and just be like, I'm kind of tired of this whole like being a well-known artist and being there for everybody. It's not about the money though, it's about the being of service. So basically, yeah, I can sustain myself. Right now I'm actually in a very humble position, because from escaping from Canada and Peru, where I had big apartments where I lived alone in a nice neighborhood, and now all of a sudden I'm in Denver living in a small room in a basement. It's a humbling experience, you know, like,
Yeah.
because I'm in my 40s and I worked hard to make this stuff, and now I feel like I'm back at this other level. But I'm also like, hey, like, that's life. You took your decisions. You know what you're doing. Trust that, you know, this is just how life goes sometimes. But yeah, where am I going with all this? It's a balance and it's a ride. And
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like going along with it as the world also changes. And service, you know, if I can be I got back on the horse, yes, for myself because it's my nature, but also like, hey, like, you know, Chris Dyer, the character, whoever he is a positive energy or force or artistic maker or whatever, and the life of a lot of people. So if I keep on working hard at this and doing my offerings on wherever it may be, business, brand, or just art, that's you helping with the with changing the narrative, with changing the code of what this world's about, with raising the vibration, with just doing your part to get the world back to balance and out of its madness.
You said something really clutch for any artist listening. That is like, I think part of the balance is accepting the complete imbalance, and the personas and the facade of what we put out there on social media doesn't always match the minute to minute of our lives. Like, people will say, oh, I want to be an artist so I can just paint all day like you. And I'm like, I haven't touched my paintbrushes in probably about a month. I've been so busy with other stuff, you know? And
Right.
that seeking of balance takes a lot of times being totally off balance, which probably goes back to like the skateboard lessons, right? Like, in order to like land that first kickflip, you got to like fall on your face like a bunch and like roll your ankles a lot of times. And like, you have to be okay with that complete imbalance before you actually figure, oh, that's how you do it. Got it. You know, and so
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's I agree with that. Sometimes life wants to give you something bigger, but if you're stuck in the level where you're at because you're just content, you're not gonna get out of that. So for example, I was very content with my apartment in Montreal, but maybe life wants something bigger for me. For that, he's got to break me out of that place, and maybe I need this incubation place for now, so that
Yeah.
my next step is like even more abundant I could even dream. But yes, it takes moments like a fall or ups and downs in order to get to the next level trick. The harder the trick,
Yeah.
the harder the fall, you know, the bigger the staircase, the bigger the handrail, the bigger the ramp you're going to go down. Like whenever you step it down, step it up, the fall will also be as big.
Yeah. It's fun being a dad now because I'm remembering those experiences as I teach my kids to skate. Like, my little kids all go to the skate park with me now, and it's super fun to kind of relearn those moments. Something that we're talking about kind of goes into a conversation that obviously we have to have, which is NFTs, you know, and I think it's interesting. We'll kind of get into that topic via this route, right? So I feel like it's interesting because what we're talking about is like the long haul, the grind, like you put in your hours, right? You put in your 10,000 hours, as everyone says. It's so like twisted and almost funny how so many like newer artists have these crazy unrealistic expectations. They're like, I put my NFTs out like 3 weeks ago and I haven't even sold one. I'm not a millionaire yet. And I'm like, are you fucking crazy? Do you not realize like how many freaking decades like I put in? Like you said, you were on freaking welfare, and like I was in crazy debt, and like so many of us have similar kinds of struggles for years and years and years. And now we have this amazing space of NFTs, and it's given us opportunities. And we're obviously going to touch upon your amazing experience with them, but like, just as far as that goes, has that been interesting for you to kind of see people's expectations?
I'm not here to judge the process of other people. I feel artists are very lucky these days to come out and have platforms to show their art. Social media was not a thing till I was like a proper social media, like you know, because I was on, you know, Friendster and High Five and
Oh
things
man,
that were just socializing back in the day, but that was not a place you could move much art. But say like MySpace was like what, 2005, 2006, and you
yeah,
know, so
about that.
all of my college years and years after, you didn't have social media to tell the world that your art was there. You do a web page, but how do you even get people to your web page? You just had to go out there and hustle, you know, get on the road or hit up magazines with letters. And artists have it really nicer these days. And I think a lot of them kind of take it for granted. Like, I got this one artist that just writes me at least every second day, and he's like, oh, my art career's not working out, and blah blah blah, complain. I was like, I don't know what he wants from me. Like, I think
Yeah.
he just wants me to like touch him and then he'll be successful. As like, it's not how it works, but it's like, just keep on working hard, keep on doing better art, keep on pushing it out there. I don't know what to tell you. Like, come to one of my workshops and then we'll really work all the different aspects. And, you know, so my point with all of this is like, some people are kind of like getting it easy, and they get used to getting it easy, and they just, you know, or they see somebody else like just blowing up on TikTok super quick by not doing a lot, and they feel like that's their path for anyone. I'm happy. I
Yeah.
struggled and I worked hard, and I got my art to a place where I was happy before I even got out into the world. And it's like, okay, now this is my art. A lot of artists just go out there with, you know, beginner art because they haven't even put the time. They already want to be a famous live painter or this and the other. And it works for some and it doesn't work for others. It's their call. I always say, like, hey, better work for years at getting your art to a place where you're really proud, and then go out there and promote it. I think that's a better first impression. And, you know, and plus, we're doing art because we got to do art, because we're artists, because we need to express, not so we make money and we make a career and we're popular and famous. That's like a side thing that you do so you can keep it going, so you can pay bills while you're doing this thing that you love. But you know, we shouldn't be an artist so we make money and all
Right.
those other things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's funny. People, artists will say, you know, I get similar messages, and they're like, I'm like, why are you making art? Oh, I love to make art. So you love to make art, but yet you're in like a rush. I'm like, are you like in a rush when you're having sex? Are you like in a rush when you're like eating your favorite like dessert? Like, if you enjoy art, like enjoy it, right? Like, why is it like I have to get to the finish line right now? Here I go, you know, like so fast. It's interesting, but like, so you're talking about developing your style. It's been many, many years of you like kind of nurturing it, and now you landed in this amazing, crazy, trippy space of like NFTs, which a lot of people don't get. Most people don't get. Probably people listening have no idea like why it's a thing. So how did that journey come about? And I'm also, if you can kind of squeeze in that story of how it came about, if you can touch upon the sustainability things, that's something I still get thrown at. People are very concerned about environmental issues and things like that. And here we are, like two hippy dippy artists. Like, I've done research, I'm comfortable with it. And I'd love to know where you are with that as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so NFTs came at me less than a year ago. It was like February of 2021 when all of a sudden in 1 week, 5 different people hit me up, be like, Chris Dyer, we got to do an NFT. You're gonna make like some money. I was like, what the fuck? So I had to research. I had to like learn about it. I was not gonna jump into something just because it was like the fad or the cool thing or because there was money. If I do anything, like I've been doing this for like decades. So if I'm gonna do something, I want to do it right, and I want to understand it, and I want to do something special too, not just like, okay, me too, give me some money. No, you know, I want to do it right. So I waited months, and what I understood when I understood what a good NFT would be for me, I started working with animators and musicians, and then I would make an offering. And when I finally came out, I came out very humble about it. I didn't go out being like, hey, everybody, I'm Chris Dyer, and give me your money now for my NFT. I was more like, hey, this is a new playground. I'm not one of you guys. I'm not a crypto person. I'm not an NFT person. It's like me going to skate park for the first time there skating. I'm not going to show up there and fucking be like, you know, think I'm the coolest shit. I'll probably like, you know, eat shit like a million times. So I'm just going to find a little corner to play. So I went in humble, but luckily there was a lot of Chris Dyer fans in that space too that enjoyed both who I am and the actual NFT that I made, which my Genesis one is very beautiful, if you ask me. and it sold out right away, and they started reselling it, and the price went way up. So the market spoke and brought the price up, and that was amazing. I was like super flattered and happy. And then it got me confidence to the second one, which also did pretty good. And then is when the opportunity, actually I've been working on many NFTs, but I try to space them out as to give respect to each collaboration and to the people buying it, so I don't, flood the market. And then the opportunity to do this Galactic Gang series came. So people were explaining to me the derivative art making situation on how you can make like, thousands of characters. Because I was like, what? I gotta draw thousands of characters? No, you gotta draw the eyes, the noses, the mouths, the bodies, the heads, the ears of a few different characters, and then those get all switched up with each other, creating all these combinations. So you end up making thousands to millions of characters from only like 10 or something. Once I understood that, it's like, wow, that actually sounds very interesting. What, like a computer with an algorithm actually shuffles up my art, making new art? So I did it, and I was really impressed. I was stoked. I thought it was super fun. The characters all came out great. Everybody who's seeing it was like, whoa, like, I don't want to insult anybody, but in the world of NFTs in general, there's a lot of art that's not that great. Because I don't think everybody says NFTs are art, but a lot of people don't even care about the art. They just care about the extra stuff, or the hype, or the utility, or how cool the person who made it is, etc. But I actually wanted to make like cool, fun art, and actually art that went along my vibe and the vision of the world, or my interdimensional communications. So anyways, it's a big long story. I don't know how much you wanted me to tell you about it, but in a nutshell, we made 5,555, and it was a very stressful process to get people to mint them. I didn't even know how many people would do it or not. I just kind of like went by spiritual intuition once again, because the point, what I want to see right now is the world waking up and making a balanced expression of itself, which we're so not at. But I believe it's possible, and I believe it's possible in our own lives. I think humanity will wake up, and we will bring the golden age, the age of Aquarius, whatever you want to call it. I think that is possible in our lifetime, even though it seems impossible. There's many prophecies that say that it's going to happen, and that what's needed is 144,000 enlightened souls. I don't know what enlightened means because I haven't reached that yet, but awakened or just connected spiritual souls. That's what's needed to do the 100 monkey effect on the rest of the population. So if enough people waken up and connect their highest vibrations in themselves, that will affect everybody else, and then humanity will get on board with who we truly are and what we can truly do, including the environmental situation, which I will get in 2 seconds. So the population of the earth, 8 billion people divided by 144,000 people created 55555, which is a spiritual number of change. And that's why I chose that number. It's like, okay, these will be not avatars on a different dimension. We are the avatars, and they are the real us's, or the guides to this physical expression of who we are. And these are entities that are here to help humanity get their head out of their asses and bring the new world. So that's kind of like the story behind these beings. And I was so happy it sold out, and then it started reselling, and the price went up, so people made profits from it too. And it doesn't end there. Now I got this community that, I got to show up every week to, give them community first of all, but also utility, which is a word I've learned from. There's lots of words I learned from this. The NFT has to be kind of like a entry pass to like a whole new thing. So it's a brand in itself. Events that people can get in for free, VR worlds, assets that they can get for free. We've given away free prints, free artwork, speeches we're giving to charity, psychedelic entities. Well, actually, I'm going to give to charity. I'm still having those conversations. I don't want to say I did it already when I haven't, but I'm having these conversations, and sometimes they take a while because you're just giving big chunks of money. And also, and this is where I'm touching on the environmental subject matter, I want to plant enough trees to not only balance out the minting of these 5,555, NFTs, but also go further. These NFTs make a lot of money. And that's great because there's so many, even though they're kind of cheap, they're like start at $300 or whatever. But we want to use a chunk of this money to plant trees to make this world a more beautiful place. Yes, NFTs have an environmental cost as everything. The thing is, everybody's just focusing on the NFTs, like, oh, NFTs, what, uses gas? Evil. Artists making money? Oh, that's not cool. And what they're doing bad for, oh, lots of judgment. But everything else also, like every single little fucking thing around us uses fucking energy, and we're doing it all the time. I'm not gonna start defending myself. I'm a 42-year-old man who still hasn't had a kid, and I don't drive a car, so I don't try to live my life with like environmental guilt. But if I started driving a car, it's like, okay, well, I need to get to play. Like we all have to do something. Right. Like you live in a house, it's like fucking
right,
like wood and paint and plastic and metal times millions and billions. Like, are we going to live our life in guilt? Like, oh shit, we killed nature to do this thing. It's like,
yeah,
everything.
I think so much of that is just like the media spin on everything, because like I had some conversations early on in like the NFT space, and I was trying to like learn and research and try to know what I was talking about before I got into a conversation. And I'm like, you see this like paint behind me? Do you know kind of like a factory, like what kind of smoke they're spitting out to put that paint together? And then like the tubes of paint, and then guess what? They have to ship it to me on like freaking UPS trucks or whatever, and then the canvas, and then the wood stretcher bars, and then guess what? I have to package that up with like bubble wrap or paper or whatever. It's like so many steps are like being used.
And are any of those industries feeling like, ooh, maybe we should plant some trees in order to like, fix the bubble wrap and the paint and all that stuff? Not a lot. But anyways, I'm not saying that, me or artists or NFTers are saints neither. We're doing our thing. We're using energy, but at least we're trying to use like renewable sources, and we're trying to give back to the environment. Now, what you were saying, I resonate with. I feel that Babylon's system, whatever your definition is, Babylon's system, has had the power of finances for 500 years. The Federal Reserve, and who prints the money and who gives it value and who holds it, and how they divide it in 9 and spread it around, and then that gets split up, all that fucking bullshit system. And we're the people at the bottom working hard to pay all the taxes for a debt that will never be paid. That system is broken. It's terrible. And all of a sudden, we're making our own money. We're making our own crypto. We're making our own. We're creating things that we value, and then people around us also value, and that's why they're spending that $300 for an NFT, etc. I don't think Babylon system likes that we're creating our own value and our own money and our own currency that defies theirs. So of course they're going to be like, it's bad for environment, shame on you. And they know that we care about the environment. They know we don't want to destroy the world. So then if we feel guilty and bad, it's like, then we won't empower ourselves. I think the whole discussion, I don't think money is bad. I don't think NFTs are bad. I don't think a house or a car or anything is bad. Is what, your intentions are to use that car, to use that house, to make that art, to build a community, to use that money. What are you doing with all these things? Are you just doing it to feel good about yourself and die? Or are you doing it to like empower communities and help your friends and make somebody feel comfortable? I don't know. I think it's all about the intentions and the purposes of all these things.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the best all of us can do is like do the best you can. Like, try to make efforts every moment, and every consumer choice you have, everything you do, try to do the best you can. But at some point, everyone's got their smartphone, which has like, lithium that was pulled from somewhere unethically. Like, do the best you can. But I feel like with any innovation in human history, the first stages were really messy, whether it was physically messy or whether it was like ethically messy. And unfortunately, we're still humans who have a lot of flaws, and like any innovation like the one we're going through now is going to be a little bit screwy at the beginning, and then it'll get kind of smoothed out. They'll figure out a lot of the flaws and stuff. But I am excited for NFTs myself as an artist, but I also own 4 of your galactic gangs, which I'm excited about.
Thank you.
They're super rad. As soon as I saw that, actually my one friend Sam told me about it, and then our mutual friend Brett from Roots of Creation So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna help support that, and they're super dope, and I love seeing like people gaining momentum with them. They're super rad. Was it a conversation or a thought process in your head, Chris, of like, should I do like the generative project like you did versus like being like a one of one artist as it's referred to? Like, there's some artists like X Copy is one great example, or Beeples, who like make a fucking fortune just by doing one-offs of like their work. Was that something in your head, like I'd rather do one of ones of like masterpieces, so to say, versus a generative? Or was that just like, no, that's the way I want to go from the get-go?
The whole one-on-one thing is doable, but I guess it's all about strategy. Like NFTs are a lot about strategy, and it's like, what's your strategy? So when I came out with my first two offerings, they could have been one-on-ones, and then I could have had people fight for it, and then somebody keeps something. I could have made more money, perhaps. Instead, I offered 22 of them, so they're a little bit cheaper, but I don't know, times 22. It was not something that I decided. I had to listen to the experts who were in that scene. In my case, I work with Obtainable. They're the ones who helped me do a lot of my launches. When it came to the series, the Galactic Gang, that was more like a effort with my friends. I had just moved to Denver. I was figuring it out. And my friends who are really into crypto and NFTs, they're like, let's do this series. And I'm like, well, I'm here. It sounds fun. Let's do it. I didn't really know what I was getting into at the time. It ended up being like a whole thing bigger than I imagined. But I don't regret it. I'm happy about it. But it's certainly taken a lot of my time, which I was already struggling with. But anyways, and then we did it. I just did the art. It took me like 2 weeks to just draw nonstop, which was fun. And it's almost like it was effortless to create the gang and what the gang was about, and then put it out there and find those who resonated with the gang. And yeah, now we got this thing. And now it's, we gotta develop it as we go. Finding other people, like say like yourself or Brett, or musicians, or writers, etc., and keep on developing what it's about. Like for example, right now I'm talking with Daniel Pinchbeck, who's a great writer of many books, and he wants to help write a novel about the Galactic Gang. What's it about? But first, I want to do this contest with the gang, where I want to give away the original drawings of the creatures I made. I want to do a contest of story writing. Write me a story about what your Galactic gangster is about. What's the world he lives in? What's his purpose? Any ideas about what this whole story could be about? And we'll see what comes through. And hopefully some good ideas come. And from that, it will help us develop more the story. And who knows what will happen with it. The book is the first step, but then maybe like a cartoon or a movie or a video game. I don't know. This could be like my Hello Kitty. Woo!
Could be, man. Could be.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about business before. I had a couple other questions that I'd love to kind of know, because I'm always interested in stuff like this. So like, you're someone that's really fucking busy, right? Do you have a method or tools or like a mindset on like, how do you manage your time? Like, do you have like a very rigid schedule? And also kind of related to that, like team building. Like, you seem like you're someone that works good with people, likes having people around you that supports him. Like, so can you maybe talk to artists listening on like how to manage all the freaking stuff you got to do, and then how to start incorporating other people into your vision?
Well, I got a good calendar, Google Calendar, where I just fill in the things I have to come each day. I'm also very much into endless to-do lists of things, like, the to-do list for the days and the weeks, which, as you can see, I only got one crossed out so far. And then the bigger one of like, okay, this is all the different, and each one's like a project, like, for example, right now I'm not turning into an American, but I gotta get into the American. So that takes like a lot of fucking things while I'm quitting Canada, while I'm like trying to do all these things for the Galactic Gang, while, cool bands and brands are hitting me up to do art, and I can't say no, but then I can't find the time to do it, while doing my own podcast. As you may know, I have a podcast called Chris Dyer's Creative Friends, where I go to the houses and studios of my friends and I interview them. So that's a project that I'm trying to develop, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Traveling, I'm going to, Arizona next week, but also there's like once summer starts, I'll go like nonstop painting murals everywhere and doing events. So it's intense. So I just gotta like sit here in front of my computer, figure it out, communicate all day long. And then at the same time, like the DMs on like Insta and text are like nonstop. I'm a little bit fucking overwhelmed right now. Like, as I said, I some days I just want to throw the phone in a lake and just hide and paint and fuck the world. But I'm not irresponsible like that.
I get it, man.
Depend on me, and I try my best to deliver, and I hope people have patience with me too when I can't just do everything at the same time. I think that was your question, right? It was a two-parter.
That's good. That's solid, man. So like talking about like that daydream of throwing your phone out and stuff, I definitely relate to that. And you had mentioned that a couple times, and I feel your frustration like from the heart, bro. I'm wondering, is there a version of Chris Dyer that if like you didn't have the career expectations, you didn't have the responsibilities, you didn't have to like meet everyone's demands, and you could just, pick up and plop yourself in another dimension or whatever, would your art look different? Like, are there sides of your creative self that you're like, no, I just want to like fucking reinvent myself as a Renaissance painter. I want to be a sculptor. Like, is there like, because sometimes I feel like part of this type of a life that we have, it's like you get held captive by your expectations, and you get sort of, you're a prisoner to your own style to some extent, because people expect you, the next Chris Dyer piece, to look like the last one ish, right? Is there a version of you that like would want to do something completely obscure and different that would throw people off their rocker of like, what is this,
I'm not afraid of doing things differently than before. I certainly got a style that I know people enjoy, and I do it when I feel I need to do it. And I also got other styles that are more explorative that some people like and others don't, and that's fine. I don't make my paintings as a product for sale. Actually, I don't like selling my paintings. I'm having a solo show in April, and I already talked with the gallery, and it's like, I don't want to sell my paintings. I hope that's cool with you. And they were like, Chris, we'll be happy to do a show with you, and we'll figure out the financials by selling products on the side or something. But we honor you not wanting to sell your originals, because my bigger goal for down the line is to create some kind of like gallery or museum where you can see most of my collection together. I'm actually going out and buying my older pieces from people who bought it years ago, and that's costing me money, but like I'm not making my art as products. Like the arts are the expressions from my soul, so there's no problem with that. I'm not, if it's a commission or a t-shirt graphic or a mural and they want something specific, yeah, of course I'm going to give the client what he wants. But when it's my fine art, that's my own business, what I do, and maybe people like it or not, cool, doesn't really matter. Luckily, people usually like what I like. I think I'm lucky that the art that I enjoy to make for myself matches the taste of many people who like what I do out there. But I'm not doing a painting like, ooh, what will these strangers that I don't know like, and will I be able to make him happy? I can't live my life that way.
Yeah.
In all respects, fuck it if they like it or not. Though I'm very grateful that they do, and that actually even helps with their process. So I guess something that would be different would be the NFT thing. Like the generative galactic gang thing, even though it's in somewhat my style, was totally different, and it's a totally different universe, and it's a totally different video game. That's me daring to do something different and playing in a new game court and hoping it does well, but it could have flopped very easily. And I actually could have ruined my whole art reputation if it would have flopped, I would have thrown down and people could have bought these NFTs. I could have just gone down in value, and then everybody's pissed off at me because I failed or whatever. Luckily, it worked out.
Dude, yeah, I would say it worked out. You're like fucking killing it right now. I'm like so stoked for you, man. It's great.
Thank you.
yeah, like you're fucking destroying it, and I love seeing it. I'm rooting you on, as is everyone else. So well, I guess the last thing we'll wrap up with is you had mentioned a couple things we got to touch upon here. You mentioned maybe having a family someday. I'd love for you to touch upon that, and kind of related, like you have this like interesting thing about you where it's like you travel, but then you sit in front of your computer in a basement. Like I'm like wondering how you like kind of are those two sides of you, or is just one out of necessity? And if you would rather just travel all the freaking time, or is there a side of you that would like to have maybe a family or maybe settle down in some regard and just get rooted instead? Is there some part of you that enjoys just like being as opposed to like always running around everywhere?
Yeah, there's certainly a part of me that just enjoys just being. I enjoy that moment in the morning when I wake up and I just lie there and enjoy my vibration. And it's like, okay, this is me. I'm just being, this is good. And then little by little, it's like, hey, you gotta do this thing. Hey, you gotta do that thing.
Yeah.
Jay Alders wants to interview you today. um, uh, Usually I don't sit in a basement writing emails and doing computer stuff. Usually my office is a well lit, nice room, second floor, lots of windows, lots of toys around me. Being in my office is not that terrible back in home in Montreal or even in my land in Peru. You know, I look at the land in Peru, I look out and it's just like fucking nature and murals and it's nice. And I don't mind doing the homework and the business side of things, not torturous. Just right now, the levels, I think because of the Galactic Gang, there's just a lot of homework and I'm trying to do my best to deliver to all these people who want me to deliver. I honor them. Yes, I did good money from it, and now I'm still going to work towards. I'm not just going to grab the money and take off and fuck everybody as I could do very easily. No, that's not my personality. I don't want to ruin the reputation of my artistic name once again by getting people to buy something and then not delivering. I'm being responsible. I'm an adult. But yes, I hope that at one point I'll get enough homework done so that I can, my goal right now is to probably move to Florida, buy a house with a studio and be able to paint a lot. As for the family, that's not something I can just go and buy in a store. It's something I'm waiting for my love, my partner to come through. A woman that's undeniably the person who is supposed to be in my life. And, you know, if we make a human, cool. If not, also that's fine. You know, it is a crazy world, but at the same time, I think it seems like a very beautiful experience with lots of growth and lessons. I don't know. I'm still not too old for that. And I think it'd be nice. So I wouldn't mind just having a calmer life of family and painting and not traveling the world. Though I think I would always travel a little bit, you know, once I'm allowed. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Life keeps on changing for me, and I'm just trying to be grateful in all of the different stages of it.
That's awesome, man. Chris, dude, thanks so much for chatting and making me part of your to-do list. Is there anything that I missed? Anything like to plug? Anything that we should look for? Maybe how people can find you?
Yeah.
I mean, you're easily
My
found, right? Your website, your Instagram, your Twitter, like you're all over the place.
Sure, my plugs. My name is Chris Dyer, and my brand's called Positive Creations. My website is positivecreations.ca, as in Canada. My web store is positivecreations.net, as in a net where I capture your sales. Then there's the galacticgang.com, galactic with a K in the middle of it. Just sounded cooler to me. What else? I'm on Instagram. I got a podcast show on YouTube, a travel show on YouTube, even though it's a little bit older, but it's still really fun to watch. What else can I plug? I don't know. I'm a nice guy, so you see me around, give me a hug.
Right on, bro.
And yeah, no problem doing this interview or having you as part of my to-do list. It's always a pleasure to talk. Like, this is as important to me as making a painting, communication with my audience and being understood, but also like sharing the vibes that I want to share with the world as a person in service. So this is not a chore. This is why I'm here.
I always find it nice to like talk to other artists because so much of my process, I'm sure yours too, is like in solitude. So it's like nice to have like virtual coworkers to kind of like rap with, about life and shit, So I appreciate you getting me on your to-do list. It was awesome to get to know you. I hope we can have a skate session or do some drawing at some point. And
Yeah, where do you live?
I'm in New Jersey, right out like a mile from the beach, New Jersey.
Uh-huh, cool. Is it
Yeah, man.
nice there?
Yeah, I'm in a cool spot. I'm probably gonna, find myself somewhere warmer at some point in my life. But my family's all here. We're like, a biking distance from the beach, and 1 mile north. Or, I'm sorry, 1 mile. 1 hour north is New York, and 1 hour southwest is Philadelphia. So we got some like culture around us, even though everything is really weird in the world right now, and I'm kind of avoiding cities. It's there, and so it's a good spot, man. It's got a lot of stuff. We got mountains and ocean and cities and a lot of cool stuff. So I've definitely been in worse places and a lot of good people here. So
Nice. I
yeah,
miss the
man.
East Coast.
Yeah,
Mhm.
man. All right, brother. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, brother.
Blessing.